Good day, everyone. Welcome back to the Doc of Detox show. I'm Dr. Darrell Wolfe, and today's show is calcium ion therapy and heart disease with Jay Lee. Now, before we invite Jay on, let's just talk about something right now. Heart disease isn't getting any smaller. Heart disease is the number one killer, and it's right in line with cancer. So we know that there's a big problem out there with everybody's hearts. And we also know that calcium ion actually helps to what? Give you a heartbeat. So understand, take this to heart, this show, and really listen. And then we're going to show you one of the most powerful steps that you can take to have a healthy heart. If you would like to learn more about the SAC Ionic Calcium, please go to our SAC Ionic Calcium guide in the library at docofdetox.com, and you will find a great collection of shows on conditions such as, here's just a few of them: advanced water fasting and ion calcium, arthritis, cancer part 1 and 2, diabetes, neurodegenerative diseases, nutrition, infectious diseases, and there's more. So all you got to do is go to docofdetox.com, go to the top of the page, click on library, log in, click on the SAC calcium guide, and then get the facts. In 2009, Dr. Paul Lee invented sigma antibonding calcium, which is known as SAC, in efforts to make a better biological calcium when his friend fully recovered from the last stage of prostate cancer with colon metastasis only with SAC. Intensive research on SAC began, leading to the discovery of its amazing effects on many degenerative diseases such as osteoporosis, Parkinson's, autoimmune diseases, and yes, heart disease. So let's get to the heart of the matter. So let's begin the show. Good day, Jay. How's things going?
Things are fine here. How are you doing, Dr. Wolfe? Thank you for inviting me.
Well, I'm doing better all the time, Jay. And I'll tell you something, and this is just on a personal note, everyone. Um, Diseases aren't genetic. There's very few and far between that are. And the most important thing you'll ever understand is your beliefs make and shape you. So I want you to start believing in yourself, taking massive personal action, and know this, that habits are what create and make our day. You know, I'll tell you something, Jay, and this is just me. This is my preference. But I always do at least 2 Merigen, okay, every day. Now, probably don't have to. Maybe it's a little bit more than I need to do for my health. But the reality is, as Jay was saying earlier, that if you have really good bone composition, okay, then guess what? By the time you're 50, if you have really good bone composition, then you could live an extra 11.5 years. I think I'm into that. Anyways, Jay, why don't you start the show and let's talk about the heart.
Well, thank you, Dr. Wolfe. I guess this is another session, how important ionic calcium is for our health. And today we're going to focus on heart disease. And we do know that cardiovascular disease, with mainly heart disease and stroke, is the top cause of death globally. And about 2,200 Americans die of CVD each day, and average of 1 death every 40 seconds. Now that's kind of amazing. For 40 seconds, one person dies of CVD. And about 17.9 million people have died from CVD in 2016. So that's about 31% of all global death. So we see that the heart disease is a serious matter. And I'm glad to announce that with SAC, we have helped many. Let's start out with one good anecdotal testimony. I've met this guy who was 59 years old about 10 years ago, and he had mitral valve prolapse heart condition, where the valve flaps of the mitral valve do not close smoothly. He kind of bulges upward to his left atrium. I mean, he was a very athletic, and he said he was a sprinter in high school years, and he could, were very athletic. But then after this diagnosis, he could not even run, climb stairs, and his cardiologist told him that his life stopwatch started and he was dying. So he was really sick, could not really get up from his bed, and only thing that he could do was just lying down. Then he tried SAC therapy in 2011, and he said he was able to really feel the increased energy right away. And then 3 months after taking SAC, he began walking on treadmill first, and after about 2 months, he began jogging. And to fast forward, as of 2020, he's still very active and healthy without any heart issues. So I'm going to start out by giving you a recap of what ionic calcium is. It is the only form of physiologically active calcium in our body. Our body uses only ionic form of calcium for muscle and heart contraction, bone and teeth, of course, blood clotting, stem cell regulation, the neurotransmitter, second messenger. Without ionic calcium, all the communication breaks down. For hormone secretion, regulation, all of that is ionic calcium process. Enzyme activation, your immune response, especially for those who are suffering from autoimmune diseases, is ionic calcium closely related. And cell membrane stability, all the cellular functions, including DNA replication. If you do not have the right concentration of ionic calcium, then you're going to be building up mutations that could lead to even cancer. So it's really important that we do maintain the precise, our body actually does maintain the precise concentration of ionic calcium extracellularly, intracellularly, more than any other nutrients and minerals in our body because of its role in communication. If you're holding microphone too close, sound is muffled, can't really make out what someone's saying. If it's too far away, it's hard to hear. Same way, if your cells are overloaded with ionic calcium in its buffers, then communication breakdown, mitochondrial function breaks down. Your mitochondria will produce tons of free radicals to damage your own RNA and DNA and proteins. So all of that is a disaster in waiting. You can see that in this diagram, how ionic calcium is utilized in all these functions, without which everything will break down. Your cells lose the ability to repair itself, or even commit apoptosis, to commit self-suicide, so that it will die and then replaced by a healthy cell. So all that process for maintaining health will break down if ionic calcium level is off. Ionic calcium also plays a leading role in regulating other mineral functions of our body. And you can see here, that's even in heart cells. You can see here in the cardiac muscle cells, ionic calcium's role is very, very important, regulating the contraction and relaxation phases of the cardiac cycle, right? So calcium ion actually flows into muscle cells through these tiny channels, and it really works as a switch that allows the heart muscle fiber to really slide past each other to shorten and also to relax. And end of its contraction, calcium flows out of the channel to allow muscle to relax. All of that process requires calcium, and having it in the right amount. That's very important, right? And going back to what ionic calcium can do, you can see in this short video that I'm going to show you what ionic calcium can do for your heart. They actually have taken a heart out of this rat and had ionic calcium flow through this heart. And you can see here with calcium ion, the heart still beats outside the body. A little gross, but then that's what it is, right? But then as soon as the solution is turned off with regular solution without ionic calcium, you can see here that the heart stops right away. That's what ionic calcium does in our system. But ionic calcium, it has to be there all the time. It is one nutrient, one mineral that our body cannot wait. If your ionic calcium level dips too low, our body has to get it somewhere. If your protein-bound calcium cannot provide it, because all the calcium that you're intaking, whether from diet or supplements, it's all coming as protein form, which is not an active form. It's more like a standby form. But as we grow older, we cannot utilize it very well. So our body actually reaches out to our bones to break it down and get that needed ionic calcium. But the thing is that we definitely don't want to do that. We don't want to break down our bones, but rather get it from our diet. But then our lifestyle, sedentary lifestyle, lack of exercise, it's not really stressing our bones so that we can utilize that protein-bound calcium. That's why astronauts in space, after 6 months of stay in space station, come down with 14 to 30% bone loss. Not because their diet lacked calcium, they're getting plenty of calcium in their system, but then because of the gravity, which is absent in space, that the bone is not stressed and that protein calcium is not utilized. So for us, as we're growing older, our stomach acid gets weaker and we really cannot get calcium into our system. And also with processed food that acidifies your system with stress and fear, all of that that makes our body acidic. We're leaching our system of precious ionic calcium. That is why it's very important that we do have enough ionic calcium in our system. Regular calcium that you're getting, doesn't matter food or supplements, it needs the help of strong stomach acid to break it down. With the help of peptide and vitamin D, it's going into your system through small intestine as protein-bound calcium, as you can see here. This is physiologically inactive. That is standby calcium. We need to use it, but somehow as we age, it's harder to utilize it. You also experience the drop of growth hormone, sex hormone, the production of calmodulin, as well also osteocalcin, all these important proteins and the hormones that we are experiencing, I guess, the deficiency of ionic calcium. Our body needs a lot of it. That's why body maintains about 50% of calcium in our blood in ionic form. If this dips too low, then our body has to reach out to our bone and break it to get it. For the first time, we are really introducing this ionic calcium delivery system. This is the only calcium product out there that delivers calcium in ionic form enough to hit the threshold to trigger the hormonal responses in our body that can trigger strong osteoblasts to build bone. And when the bone is being built, what it does is it actually utilizes inactive calcium as well as it clears the calcification all throughout your body. That's been happening for decades as your bone was losing its calcium. So whether it's from bone spurs or soft tissue, or especially the cellular level, we're taking all that excess calcium back to our bone to build a strong bone. And this is how it looks like. Structure-wise, is similar to regular calcium carbonate, but it employs weak sigma anti-bonding. You're not going to find any other molecule in nature that has sigma anti-bonding stable, but then we made it possible. So this molecule still has polarity, a positive to a charge, and works together with water molecules, hydrogen bonding, and it goes into your system in ionic form. You can see here that is very weak bonding compared to the regular calcium that you find in nature. Very strong. That's why you need a very strong stomach acid to break it. SAC calcium releases ionic calcium. It just disintegrates and just releases ionic calcium that is absorbed through osmotic pressure and diffusion. And look at this chemical equation. You can see that it releases two calcium ions and oxygen and 2 carbon dioxide. Our body knows what to do with these. It's all natural. That's why even though this is man-made in its application, it is actually all natural. Right? It's 200 times more soluble and 3 times faster in chemical reaction. So it does have a little bit of different physical property. It lasts about 4 hours in our body, and it satisfies ionic calcium deficiency. And at the same time, it triggers strong osteoblasts to build strong bone that clears calcification all throughout and gives 60 trillion cells a second chance. It's able to really boost mitochondrial function, and it really clears oxidative stress and restores calcium signaling. So your body is really getting healthier because actually in cellular level, your cells are rejuvenating. As you can see, When calcium ion levels too high, thyroid releases calcitonin that increases calcium deposits in the bone. At the same time, when calcium ion dips too low, then parathyroid hormone is triggered and it takes calcium ion from your bones. It's important to note that SAC, ionic calcium therapy, it is not supplementation. You still need to get enough calcium for all the uses in our system. But the benefit of taking SAC, ionic calcium, is that in a very small amount, 7.6 milligram per dose, it's able to turn on the responses that could actually utilize inactive calcium, the protein calcium and inorganic calcium, all of that. And not only that, all the displaced calcium in your system, clear all that, bring it back to your bone. So the kind of response that SAC trigger is very strong. And we did the animal test and have seen that compared to regular calcium, SAC actually was 100 times more effective in building stronger bone. And through the volunteer studies of so many people that came to us, we have seen that a lot of people experience significant bone density increase without side effects. We have a lot of these graphs, and you can see in this X-rays that while it's building bone, it also clears the calcification. You can see here in the enlarged picture that this calcification disappeared. Now, this doesn't happen in nature by itself, but then SAC can trigger this response to clear the calcification. And also in bone healing, you can see here the fracture heals very fast, and it heals completely so that you cannot even later see where it's broken. So we're going to move into types of heart disease. And we know that there's atherosclerosis. This is when there's a plaque buildup in the walls of arteries. Heart attack is when the blood flow to a part of the heart is blocked, and therefore the part of the heart can die. And also the heart failure is when it's not really pumping enough blood. And arrhythmia is not really having the normal heart rhythm. It's kind of dangerous. And also heart valve problems where the valves of the heart is not really closing and opening properly. And all of these have some connection to calcification. And it's good to know that SAC can bring about body-wide decalcification, and therefore it can really help with heart conditions as well. So many health professionals have actually suggested that improvements in calcium cycling or sensitivity will be useful for treating heart failure. You see, when the calcium entry into a cardiac muscle cells get reduced, then the calcium sensitivity decreases, and it could lead to heart failure. Right? So you can see here that the calcium, the ionic form, of course, is used by our body for synchronizing, right, all those cells to work in conjunction together. There's some part that starts to contract first, and then it flows down, starting from atrium and down to ventricles, that it compresses, and electrical signals that started from SA node, it has to travel in certain speed through certain the processes to reach the tip, and then the cycle recycles and starts over again. All of that excitation and contraction is called EC coupling, right? It's all calcium ion process from the beginning to the end, right? The calcium signaling from the electrical signal to the completing the contraction and going back, all of that is controlled by ionic calcium signaling. So it's very important to have the precise, correct calcium ion homeostasis, right? Because that the depolarization of these cells until the contraction occurs, right? All this is time-dependent system. And when calcification happens in our hearts, this starts to break down, right? So decalcification is the answer. Here it says that cellular calcification reduces the cell's ability to store and regulate calcium concentrations within cytosol, right? That calcium storage in sarcoplasmic reticulum in heart cell is very important because when calcium goes into heart cell, it gives a signal, and then the calcium stored in SR is released, right? And that's what really causes the muscles to contract with such force, and then it's moved through the I guess these channels to really trigger the next cell to do the same, and then on and on and on. And it's all calcium ion process. But as we age, as we're taking that calcium from our bone, it starts to calcify all of these cardiac cells. Dangerous, right? So here's a test. I know I've shared this in other presentations as well. It's actually the heart cell, right? Heart cell that's left outside to grow cold. And then with introduction of ionic calcium, all these cells are firing again, right? And this is the kind of effect that ionic calcium can do for your heart. So in heart, ionic calcium really synchronizes cardiovascular muscle contraction, right? And then, of course, if your heart is not contracting in proper manner at the right time, then it is not pumped in the right direction, and your heart will just agitate, and then the blood will just gurgle inside, and that's going to be a heart failure right there, right? And also, what's good about SAC calcium is that as it turns on massive osteoblastic bone, it really clears excess calcium in your system. So even in the plaques of in your arteries, it is all hardened because of calcium, like a cement. But then when your body is not in calcification mode, then what happens is that calcium that is cemented the plaque starts to fall out. And then the plaque becomes softer and easier for a body to get rid of. Of course, it takes time for that to take place with SAC, but that's more like a long-term benefit. But then that's what SAC calcium can do. At least with SAC, you're going to be coming out of calcification mode. That means that after age 35, 40, when you start losing the calcium from your bone, because of tons of phosphorus and calcium is coming out, you're in calcification mode. Slowly, you are building up calcification. But while taking SAC, that mode is turned off because it takes calcium and phosphorus back to your bone. So what a great prevention from I guess, experiencing all this that we all do experience with aging. Here, look at this research. There are tons of research you can find actually online. It says here, cellular and in particular sarcoplasmic reticulum calcium ion overload, in other words, calcification, is undoubtedly a substrate for arrhythmia generation. It says here in this research that it is not surprising that a physiological mechanism such as EC coupling, which utilizes calcium ion as a second messenger, should be implicated in both arrhythmia and heart failure pathogenesis. And it says here that although it has been long appreciated that pathological cellular calcium overload, which is calcification, can lead to a pro-arrhythmogenic state, it is only recently that a clear understanding of the importance of defective calcium ion signaling in arrhythmia pathogenesis has emerged. You can see that this is more a recent discovery, but then so many researchers do agree that they are kind of pinpointing to the cause of all this as the disturbance of calcium signaling that happens because of calcification happening in your system. Right? In your heart, imagine all these cells that has to be carefully orchestrated in a timely manner. And it's electrical, right? And all of that, contraction of the heart muscles and even the pacemaker cells to start firing the electrical signals, all of that is controlled by calcium ion. If you have ionic calcium level off, then how can your heart work properly? If you're seeing calcification in your bones, and joints and soft tissues, and if you're seeing calcification all throughout your body, imagine how much calcium you have accumulated in your heart cells. Here, look at this research. seeking to elucidate links between calcium homeostasis in cardiac cells and organ scale disruption of heart rhythm. It says here that intracellular calcium dynamics in cardiac cells have been recognized as an important contributor in life-threatening ventricular arrhythmia, as well as increasingly prevalent atrial arrhythmias. Right? So cardiac arrhythmia caused by disruption of the coordinated electrical activity of the heart is among the leading cause of sudden cardiac death. And this happens because our lifestyle and our diet and all of that taking calcium out from our bones. Now we have the technology. Now we have the way to stimulate our body's natural processes to bring all that back to our bone. Like we're building our bone when we're younger as kids. Right? We can trigger osteoblast stronger than osteoclast. And we can really increase the bone turnover to repair our bone and build it stronger at the same time, clean up our body of all these, too much calcium that causes these issues, right? There has been some talk about calcium channel blockers. I mean, it does have some effect of anti-arrhythmic action, but then this is not really related to fixing the calcium ion signaling pathways, which is the major cause. And it comes with some of the side effects, and also beta blockers too, right? In some part, it actually reverses calcium signaling defects, right? So that's why it's been effective in some sense, but it does come with its own side effects as well. And anti-arrhythmic agents come with many adverse effects as well, right? I guess now we have another option, but then it all, of course, ionic calcium is something that we cannot direct. So that means it goes into your system and we're leaving to our body to figure out what needs to be worked first. It's going to be, of course, building your bone at the same time. It's going to be satisfying the ionic calcium deficiency and really clear the calcification within cells to restore your cellular health. And all of that will be building up to actually even helping to alleviate symptoms that we may be experiencing through calcification. And today, in regard to the heart disease, this formula is very important. It's because, like I said before, the amount of calcium and phosphorus in your system determines whether you are in calcification mode or not. If you multiply the concentration and if it's greater than 60 milligram per deciliter, then you are in calcification mode. Think about it. When you're breaking down your bone, you're taking calcium out and you're taking phosphorus out. The calcification factor goes up and you will be always in calcification mode. That means after age 35 and 40 and 45, when you're losing the bone mass, you are in calcification mode. And all this, the heart disease, or even though heart disease can have many other causes, the primary cause that happens to everybody is, of course, calcification happening in cellular level. Now with SAC, you can come out of calcification mode and it will do your heart a lot of good. And we use, of course, Amaragen to help reverse this condition as fast as we can. And here's the good news. Back to you, Dr. Wolfe.
Thank you so much, Jay. And understand something, you know, like I told you before, I mean, you know, this product is the most important part of it is invisible. And it's because it's able to turn on the process of making and breaking bone the way you used to have it when you were younger. And by doing that, that's how we decalcify. That's how we get our youth back. So understand the heart is something else. You know, the heart is like the organ. It's the organ of records our love history, right? So how often have you said, I've got a broken heart? How many times have you said, my heart is empty. My heart is in pieces. My heart hurts. Well, understand something. We have the emotional that can attack the heart, and we have the diet that can attack the heart. So we have to become alert that the heart needs to be filled up with love and it needs to be filled up with proper nutrition that can actually reach it and then turn on the response to bring it back to that really strong, healthy tissue. If you want more information, everyone, then I would suggest that you go to the Doc of Detox library, click on the SAC Calcium Guide, and in there, like I was saying earlier, you're going to see so many different shows on so many different conditions, even fasting, how to do advanced water fasting with SAC and why it helps with the stem cell production. So really go do your homework, okay? Take massive personal action to take your life back. That is truly the most important thing you can do. And understand that you will not be able to just go onto our shop and then purchase the product, because this is not like other products. This is a patient to practitioner product. This is where you will call, you can get general information, but before you buy the product, you will be talking to myself. We will be talking about your condition, the best ways to take the product, and I will be here to help you monitor your way through. And my extension is 5, so I'm not shy to say this. We truly must have follow through with this product to make sure that it's being done right. Not because it has anything negative with it. It's because it has so much positive, and because it's so powerful that we want you to be able to understand it and be able to create the perfect day when you're taking this product. Jay, what do you think?
Well, definitely. I do recommend that, of course, good diet, right diet, and also active lifestyle company taking SAC as well. I mean, if you are really living active lifestyle that's stressing your bones, then definitely you're not going to be lose as much calcium from your bone, and of course your heart will be healthy as well. So take care of your health. It's our body that heals.
Thank you, Jay. So everybody, did you see what Jay just said? So, physical stress is great, but not too much mental stress, because you could break your heart in half. So I want to thank everybody for joining me. And again, like I told you, do your homework, take the time. I mean, love yourself well. No one else is going to do it. This is your body. So really take good care of it. And know this, that we're going to be doing a Q&A. So watch for the details where we'll have Jay come on. We're going to be playing 3 more shows. This is one of them. And then we're going to be doing a live Q&A. So we're going to answer all your questions. Okay? Again, Jay, thanks for joining us. And everybody else, thanks for joining me on this show about your heart and SAC ionic calcium. Thank you, Jay.
Thank you. Take care.
So everybody, let me just leave you with a couple of things. Just know this, we're doing our personal treatment and trainings. We're going all around the world, or you can come to us and stay in our beautiful condos. Now, you can call us. We can tell you how we do that, but we will teach you how to do the Wolfe non-surgical. We'll teach you how to create the perfect day on an emotional, nutritional level. And that's really what it's all about. You can go take a look at the personal treatment and training guide in my library by going to my library, clicking on the personal treatment and training guide, and then you can call me, myself. We'll actually come there and do that, but we'll actually come to your clinic and we'll certify you as well. We do certifications as well in Wolfe non-surgical. And also know this, that 2021 Whole Life Coach certification will be up online for everyone around the world. Okay? And if you ever wanted to really put it together and have that perfect day, click on consultations at the top of my page and get yourself a consultation. Okay? The consultations are the most reasonable price that you'll ever see in the world, and you get lifetime support. How's that? Okay? And I'll be going over your case history with one of my master practitioners, and together we will help create that perfect day for you. If you want to know what events are coming up with me, go to Doc of Detox events, and my upcoming courses, go to itioh.com if you want to come to us and take a course here in Kelowna, British Columbia, or we'll come to you and actually certify you or your whole clinic. But we'll also be doing courses in California, Texas, Florida, and also Mexico in the future. All right, so have the perfect day. Learn how to create that perfect day for the perfect life. And don't forget, everyone, every Monday I do live Q&As, so you can come on at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time and send in your live questions. I'm on YouTube, Facebook, and Intercom. And when watching on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe below and make sure that you click the bell to enable notifications so that you never miss a show. And understand something, all our shows are time-stamped. Okay, the next day you'll see all our shows up on YouTube. You can go find the question that you sent to me or the topic that we talked about because they are timestamped. Also, if you wish to listen to any of my shows and just listen to the audio version, then please go to iTunes, Spotify, and SoundCloud. God bless everyone, and thank you for joining me. And just know that you have the power to heal, but you must take massive personal action. 3, 2, 1, you got this. If you're looking for life-saving and life-changing information, well, you've come to the right place. Don't forget to click and subscribe. Stay connected.